Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy 2019. Happy January. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna the Medium. Thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are new, thank you so much. I hope you stay. I hope you like what you hear. A lot of exciting energy this month. I seem to be getting information that goes a little bit further. So I often talk about February and March. So do listen to these, come back to these when you can. As always, my intention is to give you information that will ultimately help you evolve and grow, that will help you feel empowered, that will help you feel love towards yourself, that will help you feel appreciation for who you are, which is an amazing, amazing divine being. Whatever you take out of this, please always know that it may not make sense to you right away. It makes sense to you later. Some things may hit you right away. Some things may not hit you until 2 weeks from now or a month from now. So do listen to this with an open heart and an open mind. Also, for any private sessions, of course, which I always love to do, that information is down below. Also, the 2019 6-month messages are up and running. I have also included that information for you down below, so make sure you go ahead and check it. And above all, I want to thank you again for coming back. I feel this is an exciting year for all of us. So stay tuned. I hope you like these. Of course, please comment. I always love reading your comments. Thank you again so much for sharing, subscribing, liking. I love each and every one of your energy. You contribute to what I do. So without further ado, Happy New Year once again. Let's start with your messages. Hello, beautiful Taurians. Welcome to my channel. I am Joanna the Medium, and welcome to January 2019. What an incredible year it has been. We start another new year. All right, let's get started. I decided, or I had an inclination to do things differently this time. I always switch and change. So I did what I would call my version of the Celtic cross. So let's start with, what are we leaving behind? So if you're a Taurus, what you're leaving behind is the Knight of Cups in reverse. Now, for those of you who read cards in a traditional way, this symbolizes a male figure who is perhaps emotionally not very stable. You might be leaving someone of that nature in your life. You might be disconnecting with someone who represents an individual of that nature. Whether it's male or female, it's irrelevant actually, because it is for general population. But for some of you, chances are you are leaving a person behind that is emotionally very unstable. And I want to say, for some of you, whoever this is, this person is brutally honest. And honesty is always a good thing, but brutality combined with honesty can sometimes be very hurtful. So some of you may be leaving behind someone who is hurtful with their words. For others of you, this represents an aspect of you. If you have been feeling emotionally stuck, if you have been feeling emotionally stagnant, if you have been feeling that you are at the proverbial crossroads for quite some time, many of you, if not most of you, will feel like you are leaving that feeling behind you in January, in some of February of 2019. So if I was to say it in a different way, I would say that many of you, us, are coming out of a period of emotional distress, whether it is distress around finances, whether it is a distress around relationships, lack of work, too much work, whatever emotionally gives you keeps you unbalanced and unstable, or has kept you imbalanced and unstable, including belief systems. Many of you are choosing, underlined, to leave that behind. That is a good thing, because let's just keep going. So what are we to experience most likely in January of 2019? We have Queen of Swords. So again, for those of you who read cards in a traditional way, this represents a female who's very sharp, very intellectual. I feel this will, for most of you, represent an aspect of you. So what you are leaving behind is an emotional way of being lopsided, let's say, or not feeling emotionally stable, to becoming someone who is much more, I want to say the word astute. I don't use that word very frequently, so I actually don't know exactly what it means, but that is the word that is being given to me for you. This is also someone who is fairly relaxed, although this is the way she's standing here, she's holding her sword, but it's not because she's ready to fight, it's because she is aware, but not necessarily ready to fight, and there is a difference. This is also someone who's emotionally very stable. Now, this may represent someone in your life who comes into your life, could be male or female, it is depicted as a female here, who will be a presence in your life, and she will offer you practical advice, very logical and practical advice. For others of you, this is an aspect of you, again, which will be felt by you much more prominently. You will feel you are on point. You will feel less distracted. You will feel much more in tune with your intuition, even though that is not what the card represents, I don't believe, and just much more intellectually sharp and sound. So that is a fantastic place to be. This represents the entire month of January. So if it is not how you feel at the time of you listening to it, if you are still feeling like Cups, King of Cups in reverse, then take note that there's a high probability that you will start to feel less clutter in your mind. If not when you're listening right now, then sometime into late January or even towards middle of February. What is to come, or what is the future? I don't like the word future. What is it that you might want to look out for? The Eight of Cups is showing up in reverse position. For some of you, I hear the word hindrance. There is something that is hindering your growth. Whatever that is rooted in your past. So some of you are emotionally still wanting to hold on to something that perhaps doesn't serve you anymore. Because the devil shows up in reverse position, kind of like an overall energy, it tells me that many of you are in the process of regaining control of your life, regaining power, whatever you want to call it. But generally, devil to me represents associations to things we don't want, or we don't, well, yeah, addictions, attachments. Eight of Cups to me represents an attachment one is unwilling to let go of, or one is unwilling to let go of. For some of you, it is, I'm going to say it, for some of you, it's the desire to complain that keeps you stuck in your past. And why would we have the desire to complain? That sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Well, we do it mostly because it keeps us stuck where we are, and oftentimes it gives us a reason to complain, and we kind of put ourselves in this vicious cycle. So the idea here is that because January has the opportunity, allows us the opportunity to regain our intellectual strength, intellectual agility. Anything that you are being held back by, or anything that is holding you back in any situation, or you feel like you are being held back, ask yourself, what is inside of you that you are holding on to in order to remain stuck where you are? And although this is showing up in the future position, the message that you have in terms of what is working for you is one of metamorphosis. So I can see why you would be holding on to something in your past, or you would be not willing to walk away from something from that doesn't serve you. We'll talk about this a little bit further. However, because the basically transformation is an energy that you are working with, chances are you will not be holding onto whatever this is for too much longer. For some of you, March is coming up as a time or a month where you will physically experience the idea of your transition, which means there is something physically that will be permanently, that you will permanently let go of, whether it is a financial situation, a job, a career situation, with a relationship, a fight you have with somebody and you decide not to carry it forward any longer. Whatever that is, you are choosing to keep it in the past where it belongs. Deep freeze is another message that comes up that says when things are not moving very fast, it is often because a deep freeze is happening. And when deep freeze happens, nothing can grow. Everything remains status quo. But there's purpose for that as well. So you can call it hibernation. If for some of you things feel like they're not flowing, if you feel a little bit stuck, if you feel like your transition is going on for too long, I want to say that it is an opportune time for you to look at some things that you might work inside of you, or you might work with inside of you, in order to release whatever is holding you back, so that your transformation can take place. Transformation happens when we decide to do something different than what we have always done before, particularly when it comes to things we do based on our fears, and we do a lot of those things. So let's explore some of those fears. Some of the things that are hindering you. Shamanic journey is what shows up, and to me, shamanic journey is all about healing the aspects of ourselves that we reject. So if you have been stuck in your life, and we all do at some point on certain levels, at certain times, it is time of non-action, this is the freeze card, to perhaps look at things inside of you that you would rather you would rather there be not there, they didn't exist. I'm going to say it differently. What keeps us stuck is the aspects of us that we are trying to constantly reject. We're not good enough. We're not happy enough. We're not pretty enough. We're not successful enough. We're not desirable enough. We're not worthy enough. Whatever it is, stories that we tell ourselves, because it is us that ultimately we tell ourselves what we believe, what's true or not true, upon agreement. We need to look at what this may be for you. So, for some of you, as you go through this transition, it is time to focus on recalling aspects of you that you have been rejecting. I'm going to call this the shadow self. This is called calling our parts home. This is all about rejection. 9 and 2, you'll notice the card number is 9-2. 9 is about letting go. 2 is about choices and decisions. When we begin to see things very clearly in terms of what we create in our life that keeps us stuck, we then become clear or more clear in terms of other choices that may become apparent to us as a result of us being aware. I'm hoping that's going to make sense to you. So what might be some of the things that you might want to look at? Worthiness is something that comes up, and I believe that is an issue for most people to some degree at some point in their life. But if you are currently struggling with some aspect of your life that is not working out to your liking, notice if whatever that is not if, how whatever that is connects to aspect of you that you reject about yourself. For example, if you are wanting to have a sustainable, happy, solid, fulfilling career, ask yourself, what are the choices that I make or don't make that deter me from being in such situation? Well, some of you will say, well, I don't know. Well, that's not good enough. We always hold ourselves back from whatever it is that we're wanting to achieve. And keep in mind that whatever we want to achieve is always underlined with a certain feeling or emotion. So if you are wanting to achieve a solid relationship, you want to ask yourself, what is it about this relationship that is going to give me the most? For some of you, it might be a feeling of safety and security. If you are currently struggling with lack of safety and security in your relationship with somebody, then you may want to look at the relationship you have within yourself and ask yourself, how do I feel about me in terms of feeling safe and secure in my own skin? Because anything that you feel about you will be reflected back to you by your circumstances, by the people you attract to you, by the circumstances you attract to you, and by the experiences that you attract to you. So the point here is that if you want a loving relationship, ask yourself, how can you learn to love yourself first much more completely, so that you can correspond to, so that you can draw a corresponding energy to you in a partnership. The same idea goes towards making, having abundance of any sort, whether it be health, whether it be relationship, whether it be money, financially or otherwise, or time, extra time. Ask yourself, how do I value myself? If you are wanting to have more abundance in terms of finances, ask yourself, what is about me that either attracts finances or detracts finances to me? If it's abundance you lack, ask yourself, what is it about me that I feel is lacking inside myself? And then see how that corresponds. For some of you, you get great deal of satisfaction of wanting to help another human being, and that is a beautiful thing. Don't ever change it. However, if your self-worth or your own value is only determined by how much you help other people, then your relationship with you is not very healthy, because you are putting all your efforts and all your energy on things outside of you to give you something that you need to fulfill within yourself. So there's a bit of a warning here. Perhaps some of you need to let go of some conditions that are rooted in you needing to be of help to everybody else and everything else in the world, because without you, the world falls apart. Well, we know that it's impossible for you to be responsible for the whole world, so you might as well not even entertain that notion. But if you relate to this statement, you might want to say, well, if I do believe that the whole world depends on me and I have the whole world on my shoulder, ask yourself the question, why? Where does it come from? Why do I believe that? And if I do in fact believe that, do I choose to believe that going forward? Because chances are, if you do feel you have the whole world on your shoulders, life gets to be a little bit uncomfortable. If you do have the world on your shoulders, your chances are your boundaries are not very high, which means you often say no to yourself versus saying no to certain things that you might be saying no to or should be saying no to. So that's some of the things that are coming up. Addiction is a perfect example of letting go of things that are temporary fixes. We all know what an addiction is. It's something that fulfills a certain need on a fundamental level, but something that ultimately, when perpetuated, does not work in our favor. The typical addictions are alcohol, sex, drugs, overspending, unhealthy relationships. There is a gazillion of them. If that is the case for you, if you are addicted to feeling sad, if you're addicted to feeling like you need to spend money, if you're addicted to feeling like you're always going to be poor, if you're addicted to feeling like The world will never be a good place. Whatever it is that you are married to, ask yourself, is it healthy for you? And if it's not, ask yourself, what do I need to do in order to turn it around? The Goblin card and the Sun card in reverse both talk about the same thing. Two different decks, same message. And the message is, the next little while might be a good time for you to spend some time in looking at your shadows. What are shadows? Shadows are those aspects of ourselves we choose not to see because we don't like it, we hate it, whatever it is. If you're not good enough, if you're not pretty enough, or so you believe, if you're not happy enough, if you're not rich enough, whatever it is that we feel about ourselves that makes us reject ourselves, spend some time and noticing just how much you do that. I left a message in late December about the idea of love, and how much love comes to us from the universe is directly reflected at how we love ourselves. So if we pick ourselves apart, if we say things to ourselves that are ugly, if we berate ourselves, if we are consciously wanting to be perfect because we feel that until we are perfect, we're not lovable or we're not whatever, then those are the things you might want to look at. And the one thing that I've learned from Spirit, and I'm being asked to say this, that every and any aspect that we deem as bad is an aspect of ourselves that can become our greatest strength if we only understand what its purpose is. So for example, if you're dealing with addiction, for example, and your mode of addiction is alcohol, and you do some digging in the month of January and you realize, if you don't already know, as an example, that you drink because you need to numb your feelings, and the feelings are of sadness because of something that happened to you a long time ago. Look at the feelings that happened a long time ago. Examine what they are and ask yourself, what is it that the situation potentially gave me to teach me something about myself that I didn't already know? And I am not saying here that each and every situation is a lesson. I would like to say that, but it just doesn't feel right. However, I will say that each and every opportunity has the potential to help us gain wisdom if we can find a way to apply it in a positive way in our life. So the message here is in January and part of February, and I feel it's for the reason of preparing you, for preparation for something outstanding that is in front of you. Again, March comes up. And for some of you, April and May. Perhaps some of you are getting ready for some amazing mission that you have in store for yourself. And in order for you to start and complete that mission successfully, you need to get rid of some of your shadow self. Now, even when I say the word rid of, it is an appropriate word for me to use, for you can never get rid of something that is inherently a part of you. Because if you do, you will continually be, rejecting this aspect of yourself, and you will continually be in this perpetuating self-hatred or whatever it is, self-rejection, which ultimately leads to inner war, inner battle. Instead, you need to find a way how to accept these aspects of yourself and find the positive of what it is trying to show you about you, or to challenge you to find as a strength in you. Is there anything that I need to say to Taurus for the month of January? Be patient, even if your hard efforts do not seem to produce tangible results yet. And when this happens, we often get frustrated, and frustration can often lead to the desire to finish what we're doing prematurely because it is not bringing us what we want. Whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally, whatever it may be. Now, that is not to say that if you are trying to open certain doors and you're banging on the door and the door is not opening, that the message simply might be, perhaps it's not the right door for you. But I believe for those of you who are dealing with that, deep down, if you really ask yourself, is this the right door for me? You will have the right answer. And all you have to do is just allow yourself to listen and to be honest with yourself. For others of you, you may be implementing new ideas. You may have implemented new ideas for some time, and you have not been able to see the proof of that pudding yet, or the proof of that hard work. The month of March again comes up very, very clearly. So for those of you who have been working and putting consistent effort into something, a desire, a relationship that you want to create, an abundance that you want to attract to you, more happiness, whatever it may be, I'm seeing the star. Know that given consistent effort will produce the results in a very near future. So I want to say, if this is you, if you're in that category, give it the last little bit of push. Again, the deep freeze symbolizes you may feel like not many things are happening, but just like nature has its reasons for winter where everything is asleep, spring is a time of renewal. You might need to just kind of put a pause on things, breathe through it, do what you need to do your due diligence, and let the universe do its part so that when whatever it is that you are working for is ready, it can show itself to you. Also remember, many of you are going through metamorphosis. It is the proverbial death card. It is the regeneration. It is the death and rebirth. And May and April are our months. And interesting that March is coming up as a new beginning. So for those of you who are in transitions, and I believe most of our are, but for those of you who are meant to hear this, you'll know exactly what this means. I want to say, for the next little while, give yourself a break. Pat yourself on the back for having gone this far. Look at how far you have come already, and just allow the universe to do its part in order to let things flow to you. Patience is the word that I know you guys hate. It's a word that often comes with the sign of Taurus. But what is the saying? Patience is a virtue. I know I have to learn that one too. So if there was anything else I needed to say, was that by the end of this year, which is 2019, so notice what the 2019 messages are for you, but 2019 seems to be a culminating year for many, many of you, which means by the end of this year, there is going to be substantial changes to most of you who are listening. Let's not forget Uranus is coming back, I believe, in spring of 2019. So with that said, I want to say enjoy your first month of 2019. Do check out the Vimeo videos for the first 6 months of 2019 because it will be somewhat of a continuation. As always, thank you so much for participating in my work. Because of you, this is why I do what I do. Thank you again. If you would like to participate in commenting how this affects you or how this is affecting your life, please do so. I read every single one of them. Thank you for watching, for sharing, for subscribing, and of course for private sessions, which I would be honored to have it with you. That information is down below. Once again, Happy New Year to you. Thank you again for watching and see you soon. Bye.